Welcome back to the Unwind podcast. I'm your host, Lucas. I run a couple of agencies, one being a creative agency and another being a TikTok first agency. I also recently started an e-com brand, so very much still on my journey to finding success as an entrepreneur. Now, this podcast is all about meeting with like-minded entrepreneurs and professionals to go deep, have a little bit of fun as well over a drink or two out of office hours. Most business podcasts struggle to do that and are a bit formal and professional and interview-like, and we definitely want to break that and go deeper, have a bit of fun, as well as offer tons of value. So you can find us on Spotify or YouTube at Unwind Podcast. Now let's get into well, second time lucky. Probably didn't miss much. We were just talking about Fiji water and how it's a scam. But yeah, welcome back to another episode of Unwind. Took a little bit of a break from the pod, so we've been probably off now for about a month and a bit. Just shit got pretty heavy across the two agencies towards the end of the year, but we're back with a vengeance, and I'm back with a new co-host who Liam Dunn, who is a good friend of mine and has been on the podcast before. But Liam, before we introduce our guest today, do you want to give yourself a brief introduction?
Sure, yeah, so real quick one. Also a marketing agency owner, so I work with B2B SaaS companies on growth, and also going to be co-launching a SaaS product in the next couple of weeks as well. So looking forward to speaking with Noah about all things SaaS. Yeah. I mean, it lined up pretty perfectly, this, didn't it? Our first guest, who runs a SaaS himself, Noah, who is the founder of Social Snowball. Do you want to give yourself a brief intro, and then we'll dive into your story and just shoot the shit?
So yeah, I'm the founder of Social Snowball. I'm a non-technical SaaS founder, which I'm curious to hear if you're the same. I was in the e-com world for like 5 years on the brand side, like pretty big into like the whole advertising world, and then pivoted into SaaS. Built a Shopify app, so not too much of a pivot, but still e-com related.
Yeah, nice. And obviously, where are you from? Because you don't sound like you're from London.
No, we sound a little different.
It's not a local accent.
From the US. Grew up in New Jersey originally, like went to high school there, then moved to Miami for a little bit, moved to LA for a year, and then came out here.
Yeah, nice. I think you might be our first American
Let's go.
guest, actually. So
Let's go.
It's going to be a big one.
A lot of firsts.
Yeah, we're on the waters today. As you can tell, it's January, so we're staying away from the alcohol. We'd usually be on the drink, but yeah, this quarter going to keep it a little bit on the down low. But yeah, no, so let's start from the top then. Obviously you are where you are now, doing incredibly well. A young SaaS founder, which is quite rare actually. But going back to your childhood, what were you like as a child? What did that look like? Were you entrepreneurial?
I was entrepreneurial, but I wasn't like one of those kids. I feel like every entrepreneur has a story where they sold candy in school. That's like a common one, right?
I
don't have that.
Mine was shells on the beach, actually.
Nice. That's good. So I don't have that story, but I was always like kind of into building things. So like, and like when I was a kid, it was like obviously like physical things, like before I had access to the internet. So like, I mean, I was just into like building like little circuits and like motorized things. I feel like that was kind of my creative outlet and how I would like satisfy my crave to build things when I was young. I remember like anything my parents wouldn't allow me to buy, I would build. So like, for example, is airsoft a thing in the UK? This might be super naive.
It's not as big as the US.
Okay.
Those TikTok videos of people just getting angry as fuck when someone shoots them from too close.
Yeah. So basically, like, there's a phase in, I want to say, like, late middle school or early high school where all my friends were playing airsoft, and my parents wouldn't let me get an airsoft gun. So I, like, went on a mission to figure out how to build one, and I, like, got, like, bike pumps with CO2 cartridges and, like, pens for the barrel, and, like, created these crazy contraptions that would be, like, pretty legit airsoft guns I would go and be able to play with my friends. So that's kind of, I guess, my version of being like entrepreneurial as a kid, was kind of just more like building things. And then I feel like that's kind of what laid the foundation for my like today urge to build things.
Yeah. Well, I think like, to be honest, that's more authentic to what an entrepreneur actually is. Like it is, building. You are building shit, aren't you? True. That's basically what it is. So yeah, I think sometimes, when people come up with these stories of, like you say, selling sweets in school, these more like on the nose business activities, sometimes when you are just a thoroughbred builder, it seems to make more sense. So what happened next then? Like, what did school look like? What did you go to college?
So I went to University of Miami, but only for 1 year. So that's what brought me to Miami originally. I dropped out after a year because it's when I was kind of first like having really little taste of success, like really, really little with ecom. So like somewhere after, like in my summer after I graduated high school, before I started University of Miami, I like discovered drop shipping and like got super into it and had like just little taste of success. But basically that freshman year, I just became obsessed with it, and I was like, I had like 1 month where I made like 10K or something, and then like that was it. Like I didn't really make more, but I just like had that taste, and I was like, oh my god, like this is real money, like this is insane. So that entire year at University of Miami, which I'm super grateful that I did because I think it was a cool experience, but I was kind of just like not as focused on school and really focused on like just e-commerce.
And when you say e-commerce, was that like drop shipping or?
At the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that year I was just super into that. Then it was a huge fight with my parents, but convinced them to let me take a gap year, which we all knew was never going to turn into a year I returned. And then after that I just got like super into e-commerce. I met my business partner at University of Miami, not my current business partner, but like for all my e-commerce ventures I had a business partner where we did everything together, and we moved in together in Miami and just fucking went crazy. Like just are we allowed to curse on this? I don't even.
Okay. Say what you want.
I find it kind of crazy that you moved from Miami to London. Like
Miami. Well, I went Miami, then LA, and then Miami's probably my favorite city. LA was cool. London I think I like more than LA, but Miami just has like a special place in my heart. The weather, like everything.
Yeah. I think I spent like a day and a half in Miami, and it was like a stopover before going over to South America, and it literally lived up to like every cliche I can imagine. Like I remember being on, was it South Beach?
Okay, so South Beach is not like you don't live in South Beach. South Beach is like it's super ratchet. It's a little like scary and dangerous.
That is the word.
Yeah, it's in your face.
Ratchet.
It's in your face.
It's in your face.
It felt like GTA.
Yeah,
like,
there's people selling coke on the street.
I swear to God, there was a guy that went past in this like convertible drop top, like Mustang. And he was there. He had an anaconda. I swear on my life.
Yeah. They have animals. I've seen ringtail lemurs
and a monkey on the passenger seat.
Fuck off.
Yeah. You know the guy from Madagascar, like the little rascal. Like that dude was on some dude's shoulder.
Bro.
Like there's the guy like flipping his CDs, the rapper like on the side.
Like, the SoundCloud rapper.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's South Beach. Like I don't. Like when I lived in Miami, so I ended up staying there for 4 years. I went to South Beach like a handful of times. Like Brickell is like. Brickell is like the Dubai of Miami. It's like very clean, big, modern, cool buildings. Everyone that's there is young and successful, and obviously not super entrepreneurial. You definitely get the crypto bros there. You also get like the finance bros, but Brickell's where it's at. Like it's all walking distance. It's clean.
Yeah.
You know,
is there a lot of graffiti in Brickell?
No, that's Wynwood.
That's where I went. Quite edgy. It's quite edgy, Wynwood.
Wynwood is like the Shoreditch of London. That's how the
There's good vibes there.
Yeah. It's a place I definitely need to like properly go and experience. But yeah, so what was that like then? Obviously, you were doing your e-commerce stuff. Was it like a party? Were you kind of going crazy, or were you like head down grafting?
I went through my irresponsible years in Miami. So, I was really young, and things kind of started clicking right after, like maybe like 5 months after I dropped out. Like me and my friend, who I met, who turned into my business partner, like we came up with this marketing strategy. And we were still dropshipping at the time. We came up with this marketing strategy that nobody was doing, and we like just tested it a little bit, and it started working really well. And then we're like, oh my god, like this is basically printing money. We need to go really hard on this. And it was all like related to Facebook ads and related to like different ambassador and referral strategies, which is kind of what led me into what I'm doing now. But we basically just found some marketing strategies that were hitting, and then we just kind of like went completely chaotic, like as hard as we can with it, and a little bit irresponsibly. Like we definitely didn't understand the other facets of the business very well. We were really good at marketing, and he was really good at design, so we had like those parts pretty locked in. But like logistics and customer experience were definitely put on the back burner. And I was like 19, so we were Chad scaling, and I was like 19, so I didn't really understand like how stupid I was being. But we definitely scaled too hard. And I mean, I did all the dumb things. Like I went through a little phase where I was like buying designer clothes, and I bought a Tesla. Like I had like a sick apartment in Brickell, like crazy views. And I lived that. And, I'm happy I experienced it. I don't think I look back and I'm like, did I even really deserve that? Because I was just drop shipping. Like, it's not a business with a lot of integrity, in my opinion. Like, it's like, I mean, I'm sure some people can do it right, and I know some people do, but in my opinion, it's just like the product quality usually isn't great. The shipping time is usually slow. You know, I wasn't really super happy with what we were doing until we started like ordering in bulk to the US, and then we had like this fulfillment house in Utah where we would ship things from, and then like the customer satisfaction was a lot better and things were kind of smoother. But yeah, I mean, I definitely made those like classic young 19-year-old with too much money mistakes.
I think that's important though, to go through that shit. Like, it's I feel like a lot of people that, you know, go on an entrepreneurial journey, they go through that where they kind of get their first taste of money.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to go through that period of, you know, being materialistic to realize that shit doesn't really matter. And it's like you kind of get past that. I mean, for me anyway.
I haven't had that phase yet, so maybe
that's coming
maybe
up.
To be fair,
midlife crisis, baby.
I don't think you'll ever have that.
No,
to be fair, I don't think I've massively had that.
Not everyone does. Like, I was just like a bit immature for sure. Like, I was super young, and I do think though, like the people who are gonna have it, like they have to have it. Like you said, like it's something that no matter how many people tell you, like that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't. You're not gonna like it once you have it. Like. You could hear that and be like, oh, okay, as many times as you want. You still have to like try it for yourself to realize it.
And when you're in that zone, like you feel like you're indestructible and like you're the shit. And
it's
like
that bravado, right?
It's you, like you say, you're not. It's kind of outside noise. You need to learn that lesson on your own.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, if you're happy to share, like, what kind of products were you selling?
Oh, dude, like really anything we could think of. So like we basically build like these massive affiliate programs and ambassador programs for like products that were trending really hard. We would just like basically take products that we saw other people were selling, and we would just like build like these really well built out like ambassador programs for them, and that would be like our main traffic source. So we just like drive ads to like ambassador sign up pages and stuff like that. And basically, I mean, headphones, speakers, those little like AirPod things we did. Like cameras, we even did jewelry. We did men's jewelry, women's jewelry.
It sounds very like
it was
that's
just
a lot of
random
complexity
stuff.
though, right? Like all because it's typical. Because I mean, I've drop shipped a little bit, but nowhere near like to tell a story about it. But like the philosophy is like keep it simple, right? Like what do they call it? One product stores. But you had like a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, we had one product stores. We just had like many of them. We had like multiple stores. Lights are closing.
Carry on.
Lights are closing down on us.
So 10K month, was that like the peak?
No. I mean, that was like when I was a freshman.
Oh, you got the taste
I had
of
like
it.
I was the first year of college. I had like a 30K month and probably profited like 10K. And that was like kind of why I like became obsessed with it, because it was like my first taste of actually making money, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I mean, in the peak of ecom, we were like, when I was living in Miami, we definitely had a few like 300K months, but not profit. Maybe like 50K profit was probably our best month, which was cool. But like the thing is, like it really, really came back to bite us, like us not really taking care of the important parts of the business. So like we would have, so like saying I'm banned from Stripe is an understatement. Like I think if my cousin tried to open up a Stripe account right now, like there'd be police knocking at the door. Like not actually, but I just got banned from Stripe like many times. So like we would have to use like all these other payment processors. And the thing is, like, you can't open a good payment processor if you're drop shipping. So like we would work with like not great companies. They would have these rolling reserves where they would hold a percentage of all of our top line revenue, and it'd be a pretty significant percentage. And then legitimately the majority of those rolling reserve percentages, like that was like where our profit was locked up basically, and we were kind of just operating at like a little bit of a loss or breaking even, waiting for that rolling reserve to land, and they would just steal the money. And that because these payment processors were so not legit. And I don't feel bad for myself, because it's like I feel like I got what was coming for me. Like I was a kid, I was just like messing around. I wasn't treating it like a real business, and I had good intentions, but like the business world doesn't really care about that. It's like what you actually put out into the world is what will come back to you. So yeah, I mean, we lost a ton of money. PayPal stole our money. Like we tried to
PayPal.
Oh, dude, yeah,
I would never go near.
No. Yeah, I get shivers when I hear that word.
Yeah.
So yeah, PayPal took a ton of money, and then I mean more than PayPal, these payment processors with their rolling reserves that just the money disappeared from the rolling reserve. We couldn't get in contact with them. That happened with like 1 or 2 different companies, and after like, after I stayed in this e-com world for like 5 years, like on the merchant side, and after those 5 years, I remember there was one day in particular where we finally got the product into the US. We were shipping, we were doing like pretty good volume. Like I was like, okay, I really think this time all the pieces are in line. Like we were learning from our mistakes, not neglecting customer support, like super fast shipping, like everything was kind of there. And then I don't even know how this happened, but someone was like doing some sort of fraud on our accounts, like some person or bot or something. I still don't fully understand it, but basically they had some sort of system where I guess they had a huge data set of stolen credit card numbers, and they would have some sort of bot that would run tens of thousands of numbers on our checkout per like hour to try to find a real credit card. And then when they found a real credit card, I'm assuming they would go to like an Apple store or something. I don't really know like what, but they would just run all these stolen credit card numbers or fake credit card numbers or something like that. And then basically our payment processor reached out to us and they're like, we're shutting down all of your accounts. And we're like, why? Like we literally solved every problem that we thought we were dealing with. And they're like, you just got 600,000 declines in the past week. And we're like, how is that even possible? And then they like dug into it, and it wasn't our fault, but they ended up shutting down all of our accounts. We had like 6 figures in rolling reserves locked up that we never got. And that was just kind of like, at that point, like I was really done with what I was doing. Like, even though we were shipping from the US and we had better products and happier customers at that point, like I was still just selling like random speakers and stuff. Like I didn't really care about it. And I was like, I'm kind of at the point in my like journey where I want to do something that I'm excited about, the actual like product.
Yeah.
And nothing was manifesting from e-commerce to be that. And I tried like, we built this supplement company and we made this really cool formula, and like we really went hard on the packaging and we invested a ton of money into it. And I still wasn't passionate about it. I was like, just because this is a cool product and we're like putting focus into it, like I don't really give a shit about this like nootropic supplement. Like this is not something I'm excited about. So once that happened and they finally closed our accounts, that's when I was like, okay, this is it. I'm not gonna like play this game anymore. I'm not gonna go back and like keep chasing the carrot. I'm gonna like, well, I was already starting to build Social Snowball at this point. So that's when I was like, I'm going all in on that, and that's all I care about. And that was like, I don't know, maybe like 4 years ago now.
Yeah, fuck. There's a lot to unpick there, but
yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah,
holding your money, that's mad.
But like, we went through something similar where we started a brand together like a year and a half ago, something like that. But learned the exact same lesson. Like if you start a brand that is something that either you're not passionate about or doesn't solve a problem for yourself. It's hard when you go through those more difficult times. You're just gonna get beat by the competition that actually are passionate about it. And you're gonna get outworked. So that's why it's so important if you're starting a brand, whatever it may be, that it either solves a problem for yourself or it's something you are passionate about that you can really get behind, that brings you meaning, because otherwise it just has no longevity.
Yeah, agreed.
So just going back then, when you had that, when you said 6 figures that you just lost overnight or whatever, going through something like that, how do you get back from that? How do you pick yourself up from that? What did that look like, that situation?
Well, my business partner and I were on the same page. Like, this is kind of it. Like, he knew I was working on Social Snowball. I think he was kind of done. We just been beaten down by these payment processors so many times. Like, and we thought we like finally had it all running. And then we're just like, okay, it's been 5 years of this. Like, let's move on to the next thing. So as far as like recovering, like financially, like I still, to this day, like, Social Snowball makes a good amount of money, but I don't really pay myself that much because it's just such a different business. I have all these salaries now, and like back then I didn't have any of that, so it was just like keeping all the profit. So, I had a little bit of savings, like just a little bit. I had some money in Robinhood, some money in Coinbase, and just a little bit in the bank, and I basically depleted all of those to launch Social Snowball. Like, legitimately depleted them to the point where I was like, okay, if I don't give myself a salary like starting this week, like I literally don't have money anymore. So I wouldn't say like I made a huge financial bounce back. I mean, I guess you could theoretically say I did, because I'm like choosing to not pay myself as much right now. But the money that was lost forever. I think that's the universe telling me like that's I learned my lesson, like, that I don't want to operate any dropshipping style business anymore. And now, now I spend my days building something that I am like truly to the bottom of my heart, like head over heels passionate about. And I know that like no matter what things knock us down, which I'm sure we'll get into, like pretty much a lot of things have, a lot of bumps in the road have come up, obviously, with any business. Like there is nothing that slows me down the slightest bit or gives me the slightest bit of doubt. Like I am so excited and passionate about Social Snowball, and being able to like put something out into the world and get just a ton of positive feedback is like such a rewarding thing that I never got to experience with dropshipping. Because even when we had like faster shipping, like people still weren't like head over heels about the speaker. Like it's just a speaker. Like it's what we expected. Like it's not like exciting. So now, so now I feel like, mentally it's a lot less stressful. I mean, it's still stressful, but in a different way, like the kind of business and where I am now.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I mean, how do you even, in terms of, not having that tech background, how the fuck do you come to the conclusion to start a SaaS?
That's what I was gonna. Why SaaS,
dude? So why SaaS is different than how SaaS, because those are but why SaaS? I mean, I hated, so when I was building these stores, obviously, like I was saying, we were like pretty affiliate and ambassador heavy, so I got the experience like I was able to play with pretty much every existing Shopify app for affiliate or referral ambassador marketing. So long story short, I just really hated all of them. Like they were super outdated, super clunky. The interface was horrible for me as the brand, and also the customers and affiliates I was onboarding. There were very simple things that I wanted automated that weren't automated. So like that's kind of why SaaS. Like I was like, okay, I didn't even know what SaaS was. Like I was just like, I'm gonna build a Shopify app. Like it's when I look back on how little I understood about SaaS when I decided to build Social Snowball, like it's unfathomable. Like
ignorance is bliss, though, isn't it?
Well, I think that's a cool way to go into it. Like you kind of don't think you know everything. You're learning just through like problem. It's the classic like
I thought
you
I knew
discover
it,
a problem and then you build a solution.
You hear
to it.
so many, I forgot who it was, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying, if I knew what I knew now, and this is a guy running an 8-figure business. Yeah. He was like, if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have started it in the first place. So like ignorance is in terms of what he had to go through to get there, and like the difficulties involved. And I do kind of see that, and sometimes like you do need that ignorance to go into things, or if you overthink it and you realize all the variables and all the hard work and all of the moving parts, you might not even start it in the first place.
Well, I definitely think I still would have done it. Like if I knew what I knew now, there was just so many stupid mistakes that I made. Like basically I never like really understood the startup world during this time. Like I was very tapped into like the e-com world, but I wasn't really aware of like the whole startup world, and I wasn't definitely not aware of like SaaS and software. And I mean, there's just so the learning curve was insane. And I mean, just the journey of like going from like starting to build the product to what the product's up to today, and the team that like made that happen, and what I thought the team would be back then and what it actually is now. Like that's probably been the craziest journey of all, like because I'm like zero technicals to this day. Now I have a good understanding of like how dev teams work and like, how product works and I understand that stuff now, like, like DevOps stuff. But, back then I didn't know any of these things. And yeah, that's for sure. Like I wouldn't have not done it. I just wish I wish I had like a little bit of a mentor that like understood the world through my lens and could have told me like, this is what you think SaaS is going to be like, and like these are the things that if you don't master, like it's going to really hurt you. Because I just made so many dumb mistakes along the way, and I would have just gotten to where I am now, I think, a lot quicker. But again, like that's just what it is. Like that's just what it is. So I'm not like, pissed about it. But for other non-technical founders, like I want them to just know a few simple things, like just simple little things like of that not to do.
And what are they?
Yeah, come on. We leave us on a cliffhanger. Yeah. He pulls out his notepad.
Okay, so let me give you the story of like me like trying to launch this thing. Okay, so like I started by hiring an agency because I don't know how to code.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Oh god, dude, this agency.
I've heard this one before.
I hired an agency. It was owned by a guy I knew, and he had like a cool agency. I don't think it was very SaaS focused. So I came to him with a project, and he was like, yeah, we can do this. And I was like, okay, cool. He quoted me like a done for you package price where he was going to do like the entire product, the UI UX design and like the website, like branding, everything, which is again like unless you're paying a lot of money and this is a really legit agency, like that's a little fishy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. I paid him and he was like, it's going to be 3 months until we have an MVP, minimum viable product, basically what you want to launch with. And I was like, great. And basically, 3 months go by and nothing. And then for the next legitimately 15 months, it's just next month. Oh, we'll get it to you next month. Oh, we're just wrapping this up. Yeah, I'll circle back with the devs today. Next month. Oh, can you test this for us? Oh, what do you like? It was really frustrating for me because as the non-technical founder and like as someone who was so eager to get this off the ground, especially because I had nothing else to work on, because all my e-commerce stuff, I was like, I'm not touching that anymore. So I was like dying to do work, and all I could do was like write really, really detailed like user journeys and like explain to them what I wanted. I was like, I was writing everything about the entire app, making mock-ups in Canva. I flew to LA. They're based in LA. I flew to LA and like sat down with them and we like walked through every single user journey together. Like I was just doing anything I could because I felt like I wanted to contribute, but there was just so little that I really could because I couldn't code or like actually like design in Figma. So like I was just kind of sitting there on the sidelines every day, like any updates, how's this coming? And then, so 15 months went by and I was like, okay, this agency's not going to get me what I want. So I cut the contract early. I still paid them, but I cut the contract early. They were way in the red with this. Like they lost a ton of money because they really thought they could build it in like 3 to maybe 6 months. And it took them 15 and I ended the contract early. Like they had to finish the scope of work because there were deliverables in the contract. But I was like, we need to end this. And we still didn't have a working product.
Fuck.
So then I go to Upwork, which is another huge rookie mistake. And I'm like, okay, I need to hire a freelancer who's going to be able to come in and like get this thing just working enough that I could submit it to the Shopify App Store. We'll always add improvements later, but I just need an MVP. So I was interviewing people on Upwork, and again, I'm not a dev, so like I don't really know what to ask. I'm just like, what else have you worked on? Like, I don't know what to ask. Like, this stuff matters so much, but I didn't realize, like, how much it matters, like, to actually have good developers. And I didn't even know what a good developer was. My dad is in tech, so I asked him for, like, advice, but he's, like, in, like, database-related things. He, like, hasn't coded since he was, like, our age. So he, like, he was able to help a little bit, but... basically I was just kind of like using my gut, but there was one person I interviewed that was way more expensive than all the other ones. And he used to work at Yahoo. And I was like, this is probably my best bet. So I hired this guy and he turned out to be an absolute gem. Like this was a diamond. Like I got super lucky, honestly, because I was on the fence because I was like, this is literally double than the next guy, like his hourly rate. And I was like, I can't even afford this guy more than like a month or we need to start making money. But I was like, honestly, like I made the mistake going cheap and not doing like what feels right. Yeah, exactly. So he literally within not even joking 2 weeks got us from like a broken clunky app to submit it into the Shopify App Store.
That's crazy.
And then I was like, okay, I found my great developer. Like I'm just gonna keep this guy no matter what. And we had a pretty like our launch was pretty solid. Like we partnered with a bunch of influencers. We got to like within a few months we were already at 10K MRR. Like we hit the ground running. So I was like, okay, I have enough to at least pay this guy. Like this is good. But then eventually, after like maybe 2 or 3 months, he came to me. He's like, hey, I'm too busy with other projects. He was only working part-time, like 10 hours a week, like very little. And he was like, I'm too busy with other projects. Like I can't work on this anymore. And I was like, oh, well, that's that. Like I lost the only good dev in the world. How am I ever going to find another one? So then he was like, oh, I have a friend who I've worked with who's also really good. He could join. So then this guy joins and then he helps me hire a junior dev to work with him. So now we have 2 devs, and this older guy, the one he recommended, basically was also too busy, and I just kind of was like, I don't think this is working out. So now I just had this junior dev who was this kid in college who was like a hustler. I liked his vibe, and the guy who the first dev recommended me to said he was pretty legit. So we went with him, and then the next year was basically me just trying to build a dev team without knowing how to hire devs, and this kid wasn't really qualified enough to help me. So I'm not even joking when I say between 12 and 20 devs from Upwork I hired and fired because they just weren't good. And I was really learning more about how product releases work. I was trying to build a real Scrum team and be able to actually have I even hired a Scrum manager, Scrum Master, project manager to help us with sprints and like, get our roadmap organized. And I was just really trying to like do things legitimately, but I basically was using all these Upwork devs from like Bangladesh, and they just like were on the calls with like their camera off, and one day their voice would sound different. I'm like, is this even a person? It was a disaster. And I spent a ton of money on these projects. Like I had 6 devs at one point at the same time, and none of them were good. And basically, that just became a whole disaster. And then I found this. So that was like, this is like years of this. Like really, the code base is such a disaster. The amount of technical debt at this point is unfathomable. But I stumbled upon this website on Twitter called lemon.io.
I came across that recently. Top 1% or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, okay, they say they could get me a really good dev. Like I really need someone to just, I don't even need a team of 6. I need one really good dev to just like, me and him can work really close together and just like get things done.
Are they like middleman between?
It's like Upwork, but like only very vetted dev talent.
Okay, I see.
So I told them like what I was building, and they found me a dev, and he seemed really cool. And I had like my other guys look at him, and they said like, yeah, I mean, for whatever their opinion was worth, like he seemed really good. And he joined, and he actually ended up being really good. So like, shout out Lemon. Like I definitely think they're legit.
So is that like he joined as a freelancer?
As a freelancer still. So this is still only freelancers as of right now. He stayed with me for a while. He was really good. He was building features. They were working. He was helping, with every little thing. We still had that junior dev, that first one that was in college. He stayed this entire time, and he started to get really good, actually. So I was like, okay, we have a solid team. We have this one guy that Lemon found me. He was in Romania. He was like senior, and we had the more junior guy. But they were like working well together. Started to feel like a team. And then basically one day, this senior guy from Romania, we get on a call, and he's like, Noah, look, like I really believe in what we're building here at Social Snowball. I think this is really cool. I'd love to become like a formal CTO. And I'm like, wow, what a blessing from above. Like we need a CTO. Like, we were considering fundraising, which we ended up not doing, but I was like, this is like really important. And he was like, you could pay me like way less of a fixed rate than what you're paying now. I'll join like as a formal employee, and I just want like equity. And so we negotiated some equity. I was like, this is great. 10% is what we negotiated. I was so like, that's a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
And basically, so I was like, okay, like let's do this. Like this is good. Like this has been a really good relationship. But before we do it, I want to meet you in person. I was already planning to go to Europe with my girlfriend and some friends for like New Year's, and my girlfriend and I were going to travel around. So I was like, we'll stop by Romania and we'll like kick it in Bucharest for a few days, and we'll sign the paper, we'll crack open a bottle of champagne and sign the paper in person. And he was like, yeah, 100%, let's do it. So we do that. We, my girlfriend and I were in Barcelona, and then we went to Bucharest, which I didn't really know anything about Bucharest, but, okay city. And, we got him a hotel there, and we kicked it for a few days. We went to he showed us around the city a little bit. Like it was really random, like just some random Romanian dude, like just showing us around Bucharest. It was very interesting. And then the last day, it all went well. We signed the papers, and that was it. And then I flew back to LA, and I was like, okay, we're all dialed in now. Now that junior dev, the one that's been with us for like a year at this point, he got a really high paying offer, and he just came to me and he's like, look, like I love working here. This has been really great. Like watching this company grow has been so fun. But like, he was like, 18. He's like, I just got a crazy high paying offer. Like I'm going to have to take this. Like if you ever need anything from me, let me know. And I was like, dude, no hard feelings. Like take this. This is a great opportunity for you. I'm glad I could have helped you get this opportunity. So basically it was just me and this one guy. And then one day he doesn't show up for work. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then
your CTO?
My CTO.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah,
like
I thought it was coming when you were going. You went to Romania. And
I'm waiting for something to happen here.
So he doesn't show up, and I'm like, okay, no big deal. The next day, he's like, hey, can we get on a call? And I'm like, for sure. So this is like maybe 2-3 weeks after I got back from Romania. And he's like, yeah, so basically I never told you this, but I've been applying to become a priest, and I just got accepted, and I have to go live in a monastery now, and I could only work like, however many hours a week, like way less than what we were doing. And he's like, that's okay, right? And I'm like, no, that's out of the things that's okay and not okay, that is like in the dead center of the not okay pile. Like, what do you mean is that okay? He was like, I was like, that is black and white. Not a thing that's okay. Like you just committed to joining a CTO of a startup. Like I need you working overtime. Like
and
we are
got 10% equity.
You have 10% equity in something that I built, like put my blood, sweat, and tears into. Like we are grind mode right now, my friend. Like you are not moving into a monastery and and basically he was just like, oh, like, you're not respecting my personal life. Like, it kind of got like, and I was at the end of the day, I was like, okay, once he said that call, I was like, this is not going to work out.
Yeah.
The blessing was his equity didn't vest yet.
Yeah.
So he didn't actually have any of his equity yet if we terminated the agreement. So that's what I did. I terminated the agreement.
Were they options? Or were they,
it was common stock, like actual,
Right, okay.
yeah. But you know, there was a little bit of a cliff period that we put, and thankfully it was literally like 3 weeks before the cliff period. So like a
fuck.
blessing. So I told him like, okay, I'll think about
He
it,
could have
whatever.
been a dick and like waited or something. I don't know
Yeah.
if that would affect it.
I don't think he had bad intentions. I think he was just like a little disconnected from reality, thinking that he could do both. And like, I needed someone to like be my partner, like my guy.
Yeah,
and he just wasn't going to be that. So I waited till, you know, I tried to start hiring other devs, but I wasn't able to find any. It was really just me and him at that point. So if I still had, you know, the younger guy, Nate, I would have been like, okay, whatever, I'll just let him go now and we'll just like work together until we could find another senior guy. But I didn't have that luxury. So I waited till literally the day before his equity vested, trying to find another dev. And then I just had to fire him. Like I had no other choice. He was going to get the equity.
Now my man's kicking it in some Romanian church as a priest.
Yeah.
literally.
He should have.
crazy.
Man, that would have been one hell of a story. Like CTO turned priest. Like what the hell?
Yeah, dude. So that obviously, like, I mean, the good thing that came out of it is like after I left Bucharest, my girlfriend and I went to this other city in Romania, Cluj-Napoca, which is like the most unreal city ever. Like nobody really knows about it. It's super clean, modern European vibe with like super nice restaurants, nightlife, like really cool little city in the middle of Romania that nobody knows about. So that was like the blessing. Maybe I'll go back there and like buy real estate there or something is what I tell myself. I don't know. But so basically but now I'm in the worst situation yet because I have 0 developers. I waited to the last day to fire this guy because I was like, I need to bring in another developer. But if this guy's equity vests, that's a worse situation. So I had to wait till the last day trying to bring in another developer. Couldn't find any. Had to hire them without his help because he couldn't vet them. So I was like really just like trying to figure things out. And so then I have 0 developers and we have bugs and we have customers complaining about bugs, and we have obviously like an unfathomable amount of features that we promised customers we're going to build. New bugs every day. Customers can't access their account. This isn't working. The PostScript integration is down. This, and I'm like, oh my god! Like this was like the most stressful period of the entire thing because I was like fully helpless at this point. Like all the entire team was me and one customer success manager who was a rock star and really helped keep situations calm, but there's only so much the two of us could do. Like we needed someone to go in there and fix things. So after like a month of just interviewing people and trying to find someone that I trusted, and I was just interviewing people around the clock. I was super stressed out. I found a guy who I thought was really good. He was super senior. He came in, he worked for me for 2 days, and then he said, this code base is too much of a mess. It looks like it was worked on by 20 people. I can't. Like, you're in too deep. Like, this is just a lost cause. And I was like, this guy was like head of like something at Pfizer for like like he was like legit and super expensive. And he was coming to me and saying like, this app is basically a lost cause. And I was like, oh my God. And this is after 2 months of me trying to find a dev. I finally get one. Like that whole process takes time and it's exhausting. And then 3 days later, he's like, I'm out. I'm like, oh my God. So that was like beyond stressful. And then basically I was so helpless. I just texted Nate, like the kid, the younger guy. I was like, dude, like, do you have time on the weekends? Because like the app is falling apart right now and you're the only person who understands the code base enough to like come in. And he was like, oh yeah, sure. Like I have like a few hours a week. He came in and started fixing bugs like this. Like the guy was like, oh, these bugs aren't fixable. He was just like banging them out quick. And I was like, okay, this is unreal. And then basically he couldn't join full time. You know, we couldn't match his salary. He had a cousin. He was like, I have a cousin. And we're still trying to hire this whole time because he's working like 4 hours a week. He was like, I have a cousin. He's really good. He's just like me. He could join. That guy joined. That is our first full-time engineer. He's still with us today. The dude's a beast, absolute rock star. And he helped me hire our second engineer. So now we have 2 full-time engineers. We're hiring our third right now. And they fully manage the hiring. They do all the interviews. They make sample tasks, you know, all the technical stuff they handle. And I finally am like so happy with the developers we have because they're both full-time. They're on payroll. They're really, really good. They're really passionate about what we're building. And there's no funny business. There's never been any weird things that happened since I hired that guy's cousin. Like it's been just the smoothest sailing since. And we're building features so fast. We're fixing bugs super, super quick. We refactored the majority of the code base that was written by like all these different people. Like everything is kind of like we're ready for scale now. Like we were like things were slowly crumbling before, and it was just a matter of like picking up the pieces and trying to put them back on faster than they were falling. And now we're like things are stable, we can scale, and like this is a 3-year story that I just went over. So it's been like a long time coming to get to where we are now. And those, to answer your question, are the mistakes, like the biggest mistakes that I feel like a non-technical founder can make is not knowing where to get good devs from. Like if nobody tells you, you don't know. And
So
it really can cost you a long time.
So were you like holding back from, really driving the acquisition?
No, I was pedal to the floor all the time because, my philosophy with SaaS is like anything that product doesn't have, you can bridge with customer success. So I did, and it's super true. So like any feature that we didn't have, like for the most part, can be done manually. Like think of what does an app do? Like let's say like you click something that creates a discount code in Shopify. Well, how about you just tell us which code you want to create and we'll go into your Shopify and do it. Like there's always a workaround. It's not scalable, but whenever something didn't work or something there was a customer who wanted a feature, we would really bridge the gap with and we do it to this day. Like to this day, there's features that customers are like begging us for, and our CSMs just like grind it out. They just do the manual tasks. Like they just know that like this is how we operate as a company. So we were still pedal to the floor with customer acquisition, or at least trying to be, to the best that we could. And whatever functionality we lacked, we would just try to make up for with our customer success guys.
It's a crazy story. Holy shit. Like, fair play for sticking to it. Okay, I kind of want to rewind it. I think digging into some of the detail here might be useful for just like general audience and maybe specifically people who want to build a SaaS product. Because I feel like there's a bit of a gold rush at the moment for SaaS, like in the money Twitter sphere, and I think people are going to have a nasty surprise if they think you just, I don't know, pay a dev $20K and then bam, you've got this $1 million asset.
Exactly.
So I'm going to rewind it like far back. So this agency you used, who my guy's smoking the fucking vape. Always. So the agency you used, who sounds like they absolutely screwed you over, like. If you're happy to, like, what kind of money did you invest into that?
I gave him $25K.
$25K.
Yeah, and then I probably paid that first freelancer I hired on Upwork maybe like another 10 total before we launched. Like after we launched, we obviously kept reinvesting everything, but just to get it off the ground, we probably put in like 30K, 40K.
And that's before you had your first paying customer.
That's just to get us approved in the App Store, in the Shopify App Store, yeah.
Wow. And I guess throughout this like whole process, right? Like you're a non-technical founder. Like, who or where were you looking to like learn about this whole thing? Like tech is very complex.
Yeah.
Like where or who were you looking to like build a SaaS, or what things you should be working on? Like, were there any sort of like resources?
Yeah, there were some resources, and a lot of them are actually, I still use them. I still turn to them very regularly today. Mm-hmm. So there's this one guy, you may have heard of him since you're in the SaaS space. You know Rob Walling?
Not really, no.
Okay, so he's like, his whole brand is around bootstrapping, or what he calls mostly bootstrapping SaaS, which means like basically anything besides the venture route. So like, raising a little angel check doesn't make you a not bootstrapper, which is true. Yeah. So he's like, his whole thing is around that. And basically he has a ton of, so he has a podcast called Startups for the Rest of Us. I haven't missed an episode in the past, since I discovered it. Every week he drops one. He's been doing it for legitimately 12 years.
Mad.
Every crazy. Single Tuesday for 12 years. Think of how different. People didn't know what SaaS was 12 years ago. Like, he is an OG.
People weren't podcasting 12 years ago.
Exactly. And he hasn't missed a Tuesday. He literally hasn't missed a Tuesday. And this guy drops gems. He has really great guests on. And he does a bunch of other things. He has like an events business. There's one in London I went to. His whole brand is around this. And he's really, really smart. You guys know the ESP Drip? It's like a Klaviyo competitor.
Yeah,
he founded that. So that was like his big exit. That was like, he's had a bunch of micro SaaS that he like sold for 100K, but that was like his big exit. That's like what really put him on the map. Right. So he's the, one of the co-founders. There's only 2 co-founders. He's one of the co-founders of that. And this guy drops gems. Like, this guy is someone you want to listen to if you're launching a SaaS. He definitely tailors towards a technical audience too, but he also he's not really there's nothing technical about his content. It just like tailors to an audience that can be technical or non-technical. So everything he talks about is really, really relevant. I'd say that's probably my biggest go-to resource from the day I discovered it. Back then I didn't, in the earlier days I didn't know about it, but yeah, I still to this day don't miss an episode.
Fair enough. And so you had a CTO who became a priest. Crazy. Like, do you have a CTO today, or 'cause
No.
you said 2 full-time devs?
Yeah, so we actually are running really, really smoothly with no dev leadership. We have 2 like both senior devs that just work really well together. I have a really deeper understanding of like DevOps and like how product release cycles work, and like there's enough that like we're solid enough with the 2 really good devs, and like me just like understanding more about like how even just like how like a sprint works, and like there's just a little things that like you need to kind of have your finger on the pulse of, and it's just like you could either be taught this or you just have to go through like painful trial and error, and I just happen to go through the painful trial and error. So yeah, we don't have any dev leadership really. We just have 2 rock stars. We're hiring a third, and the third is not going to be more, it's not going to be more junior nor senior than these guys. And again, I'm still learning every day, so there's probably going to be a point where we need some more dev hierarchy, and when we hit that roadblock, we'll approach that problem. But for now, like I don't know, like you guys, if you're on Twitter, I'm sure you're seeing how many features we're releasing and how fast. Like we are on it. Like
you need to like
for sure. Yeah. We are super on it. We are releasing features, integrations. Obviously fixing bugs. Like everything is happening really fast. We are very optimized for like our team size. Like there's, you look at a lot of competitors or just any other SaaS or Shopify app, like they have like, 20, 50 plus developers. And like, I still think we're releasing faster because we're just like super dialed in. There's not a lot of bureaucracy. There's not a lot of like calls and review processes. It's just the 2 of them reviewing each other's code, me and one of my team members testing and doing all the quality assurance. And then it's just like quick, we just get it done. We just,
nice. What's the rest of the setup in the team?
So it's me. We have 2 customer success managers. One is a little more onboarding focused. One is a little bit more just like everything. We have those 2 engineers, and then we have a head of growth and partnerships. That's the one at dinner we were talking about. Yeah. Poacher, was it? I did poacher. Yeah. I did poacher. My first ever poach. Huge.
Yeah, talk about that, because that's something I'm going through right now.
Poaching.
Yeah.
You just run up and you grab them.
Like, we're like hiring creative strategists at the moment, and we've got kind of taken 2 approaches before, like bring someone in more junior, train them up, which, to be fair, has worked well in some cases. It didn't work well in another case. Or hiring people in similar roles, and then kind of introducing them into our processes and systems, and training them into a role when they've kind of got similar skill sets anyway. But or obviously creative strategists that just kind of apply for the role. But I kind of am a believer now, and since I've been looking to poach for certain roles and interviewing, I'm like noticing such a difference in like the quality, because I do it's not always the case, but I feel like someone that is applying for a role, and someone who is in a job full time already, it's probably likely that they're in their role because they're good at it.
There's a saying, the best people aren't looking for jobs.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking for.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think that's like a 100% of the time statement, but for a general, like,
of course,
but
it's
like
not always the case.
But in general, I mean, so what was it?
Sorry. So like, what's that? What's your process look like for that? How did you find her?
So I mean, I don't have a process for it. I went to
Chad.
I mean, it's something I did once. What did you say?
Need a new job?
So I mean, for this particular case, I think it was someone I was already connected with her on Twitter. But I didn't really know much about her, and basically I just met her at an event, like an ecom tech partner event that I was at in New York City. And we, she was just cool, and we were just talking. And I'm always with my recruiting. When I'm at one of these events, I have two glasses that go on. I'm either at my like complete psycho sales mode, like I am walking out ROI positive from this, or I'm like, I need to find my next superstar hire. Yeah. So like, since this was like a tech partner meetup specifically, there weren't any brands there, so I didn't really need to be selling. And yes, I could establish tech partnerships, but like tech partnerships don't move the needle for us as much as like agency partnerships, and it was really just all tech partners there. So I was like, okay, this is like recruiting time. So I'm like, let's talk to people and see how they're doing, And basically, so someone else that I wanted to poach, or not wanted to poach, just wanted to hire, he introduced me to her, and it was like, she might be interested. Like, I think, she's open-minded to a position switch right now, like to leave the company she was at. So, I just was talking to her at the event very, very briefly. And then I followed up with her on Twitter. I was like, hey, would love to jump on a call. And I was like, would love to hear how you're enjoying where you're working now. And I'd love to tell you about what we're working on and looking for. And, she was interested, and we just kept the conversation going, and then eventually made her an offer. And she was super excited about it. I'd say in general, like, as a rule of thumb for poaching, and I'm definitely no pro on this, but I feel like at least in the Shopify SaaS world, it's a very small community.
Yeah.
And every founder is friends with another founder. So it's like a bit of a gray area. Like maybe not friends, but I've connected with I've met the founders of the company that I poached from. And I think like there is like at some point a line where it's like you will burn a bridge with a potentially really important partnership or relationship if you poach from someone. So it's like, I'm super close with a lot of Shopify app founders, and we've kicked it like, we've hung out in person, or like, we have like a real connection. Like I would not poach from them because it just feels wrong. Like it just doesn't feel right. But then there's like some Shopify app founders that maybe like I follow on Twitter, but like we don't actually know each other. And like I don't really like, I wouldn't even be mad if they poached from me. Like it's like, we don't really know each other. Like there's it's like, and everyone wants to hire from within the ecosystem. That's the tricky part. The Shopify app, and SaaS ecosystem is only so big.
Yeah.
So it might be easier for you because I feel like if you're just hiring, like, what do you say, creative strategists, like there's got to be a lot of agencies out there.
And also agencies definitely more dog eat dog. To be fair, I've like not in my circle. Like I've got loads of friends that run agencies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like you say, there's definitely more. There's a larger talent pool out there, and I agree though. I think that, but like what it sounded like there was it was a much more organic approach. It's not like you were fucking.
I was in like inner DMs, like being like you needed to quit.
DMs, sending her a follow request or whatever. So yeah, I think sometimes that works better, especially in person. But to be honest, yeah, it's funny you say that because I've never gone into a networking event, and I probably should have with those goggles on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
A question. So obviously, like you're in the Shopify app marketplace, which is kind of, it's not an area I'm too familiar with. Like I do work with a Shopify app, but it's kind of unique, right? Like you're on top of a platform, and so you're sort of bound by the Shopify app marketplace. Like what are sort of like your biggest like growth channels? Like, where are you getting most of your customers from? Like what are you doubling down on?
So believe it or not, like I feel like everyone thinks that just because you're a Shopify app, like the app store is like where all your growth comes from. And I think for some apps that's true. I think for, just because you're a Shopify app, like there's so many different businesses that could be also Shopify apps. Like, if there was like there's apps that like add a banner to your store to like a free shipping if you hit X, like those apps that are like starting at free and going up to like $10 a month, I think they should be focused really hard on the app store, because if you rank one above another, like that's going to give you another 10 installs a day. And like those will convert because it's like $10 a month and any store can pay that. We start at $100 a month and like go up from there. So a lot of like our competitors in the app store that outrank us, it's the main reason they outrank us. I mean, some of them are just much bigger. Like there's some huge ones, but like a lot of them have free plans and they're going focused more on down market. That's just not the business that we are. So it's like, but it's interesting because we used to rank really high in the app store and we used to have a free plan and we actually put a lot of focus into it, and the installs that we were getting just weren't making us any money. So it's like, why are we like playing this game so aggressively and putting all of our focus and energy into a customer acquisition channel that is not giving us a good ROI? And now we focus more on things that, we've iterated our pricing to kind of reflect our move up market. And we've also focused our growth, resources towards that as well. So we focus on things like partnerships. So like agency partnerships are huge for us, huge for us. Social media, Twitter is insane, unbelievable how much
is that
growth.
More through your personal brand or through the
It started with that, but my brand wasn't anything like my personal brand started by me tweeting when I launched Social Snowball. Like there wasn't, or even after I launched Social Snowball, like there was no like brand that I was selling to. I built a following on Twitter from tweeting about Social Snowball. So like it kind of grew at the same time. And now that we have like a head of growth and partnerships, she's very focused on our social media presence as well. And now like Social Snowball's account itself is kind of gaining a life of its own. That's very removed from me. And that's been really cool to see, because I don't want my brand to have to like grow with Social Snowball in order for it to continue growing. I want it to be able to live and breathe on its own and acquire customers without me being like super scrappy and sliding in DMs all day. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, partnerships, whether that's agencies, tech partnerships, of course, but agencies mostly, influencer partnerships too. Like there's a bunch of e-com influencers, obviously, and they give recommendations and people are interested. So we've partnered with them. Yeah, social media. I mean, we've tried a lot of things that didn't work. So like another thing that I went into the SaaS world thinking is like, oh, I'm going to have this app and then I'm going to run Facebook ads to it and make money.
Yeah.
And like we've spent a ton on Facebook ads.
Because we worked with an app a couple of years, it's probably about 2 years ago now. Obviously we were doing more kind of top of funnel work for them and like design stuff, but their like cost per downloads like doubled overnight. It was like it went from being really cheap to fucking really expensive, and we were just doing it was more of an ad hoc piece for them, but then they actually ended up going under, and that was one of the main reasons because that was their main acquisition. That's how they would drive it. They're pretty singular approach to how they were acquiring customers.
The thing with paid ads for us in particular, and every SaaS is different, some SaaSes thrive on paid ads, is like it was never a good growth channel for us. Like all of the customers we were acquiring, like the Shopify stores that would install, they were really low quality stores. Like they were just people who didn't have a real business or were just starting out. And so like our cost per download was actually phenomenal, and it always was when we ran ads. It was, if you looked at it on paper, it looked great, but it wasn't because those stores, like they weren't real businesses. So it's like they would close down or they would just uninstall. They would never set anything
Low
up.
Quality.
So we were just burning money on ads, getting so many installs and, not making any money off of it. So we just completely shut that down. And this is again, when we were like testing a free plan and a $10 a month plan. And like, we kind of had to learn like where in the market we fit. And now like we kind of found like a segment where the more we focus on it with this pricing, this strategy, this everything, like the more it actually scales in revenue, which is the only thing that matters. Like if you look at our this, it's crazy. I'd love to like show you guys a screenshot after this, but if you look at our growth from like installs, like active stores with Social Snowball, it goes like this, like that, and then like this, and then like a little bit down. So this is like launch to month 8 is like this, or maybe a little bit past, and then it's like flat, and then like a little bit down. Like if you look at the past like year, like past 365 days, it's like we've lost merchants. If you look at our revenue, it's literally like that. Because the stores that are installing now, maybe we get a 1/10 of the installs, but they're paying us like 100 to 500 a month. Some,
Was
even
that in
more.
correlation to when you upped your prices?
Yeah, a lot of things kind of happened at the same time. Like we were testing different things. So like we were like, oh, we're going to test the free, we're going to test the starting at $20 a month. And then we're like, screw this. We know what we need to do. We moved everything to like focus more up market. And yeah, everything kind of just like fell into place when we did that.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you? Oh yeah. So, organic, like Twitter.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of, was there any like structure to that? There's sort of like specific content you think resonated with people. Like, did you have like, a strategy, or was it just like, fuck it, I'm gonna post a revenue screenshot today and that ended up.
Oh, you mean my personal Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, no real strategy. No real strategy, honestly. I mean, I'm not like super consistent on Twitter. Like it's not like my personal, like our Social Snowballs is now, but like my personal, I tweet when I feel like it. Like if I have an idea for a thread that I think will be cool, I'll just like sit down and do it right then. I'm definitely not like super committed to it because it's just a lot of, it's time consuming, and I just rather, I have to pick and choose what I'm spending time on. But yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time on Twitter just in the DMs. Like if I think someone's a good fit for Social Snowball, I'll be like, hey, like just genuinely, like I'd love to show you a demo. Like I think you guys would crush it with us, and people are usually down. So like I'll spend a lot of time doing that, but I'm not really tweeting terribly often.
Yeah. And I just want to like ask, kind of moving slightly on, obviously your situation, just coming back to like you've moved to London now. How long have you been here again?
8-9 months.
Okay,
yeah.
So not too long.
Been
I mean,
chilling.
what was the story there?
Yeah, so I mean, after my lease expired in LA, my girlfriend was graduating college at the time, our university as you guys call it here. And we were just like traveling around Europe a little bit, and she was working a remote job. She's also in a similar space. She like is like super involved, like does like Google ads and Facebook ads and like writes and like all this stuff. So like, she was working remote for an agency at the time. We were traveling around Europe together. This is right around when that CTO stuff was going down. And then basically she was just like, you know, I want to try getting an in-person job just like just to see what it's like. So she was born in London. She's not like British. She's Lebanese and grew up in Dubai, but she was born here, so she has the passport. So she's like, let's just, you know, I'm gonna just apply for jobs in London. If I get one, let's just send it. So yeah, she's applied, she got it, and then obviously I could work wherever. So I just came with her, and we've just been chilling here.
Yeah, nice. Because I know there's like the reason I bring it up is because there's this constant debate going on about London, and you know, it's on Money Twitter. I see it all the time, just in terms of like, you know, whether it's good to live here, whether it's not.
What
do you guys think? What do you guys think?
Just like there's this shit all the time about, you know, the stabbings, the weather. I see people really hammering London.
Oh,
like,
really?
big time. Like going in on London.
I haven't been stabbed.
So I was in where did I go? I went Florida recently, Tampa, and in one night, 4 guys came up to me like, "Yo, man, what about the stabbings in London?" And I was like, "What? Like, what are you guys talking
In
about?"
America, they're shooting each other.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's fucking school shootings.
Yeah,
every
dude,
day.
like, I feel safer here.
Yeah,
I feel like anyone might just like pull one out on me in America.
But I think it's like anywhere. Like before I went to South America, everyone said that to me about South America. Like, "Oh, you sure you want to go there? Like, be careful."
Yeah, people are just scared of the unknown. Like,
yeah, it's like you end up in the favelas and get shot. And it's like,
you're not gonna go to a favela.
Funnily enough, when I go to Rio, I'm not gonna fucking patrol into the favelas. Like,
whoops, how did I end up here?
It's like the same as here. You know, you're not gonna fucking go shouting your head off in a council estate in Brixton at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, are you? Like, you kind of, So yeah, I just thought it was interesting because you've come from, you know, places like LA, Miami, good weather. I think that's probably
that's the one thing.
But London in the summer is amazing.
It's super nice.
Like,
yeah,
I want to get to a point where I'm like working remotely for the first quarter of the year and then come back to London. Yeah, because I do like being in London around Christmas as well. But the Jan to March is pretty depressing here, and like the weather is.
You can feel it in the air, man. Everyone's just like, "Fuck this shit."
Yeah, you do. Like, you see it on the tube. Like, that's why I've been trying to hibernate working from home the last couple of weeks, because people are just grumpy as fuck. Like in January. And,
I guess so. I mean, this is my first Christmas or like winter here, so I guess. But I mean, it hasn't, like, it was cold for a couple. I was expecting way worse, because like a lot of people were telling me that it was gonna be bad, and it wasn't bad. Like
recently it was. I don't know if you remember, like maybe a month ago.
There was a couple weeks that was bad, but it really wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was bitter.
I'm kind of switching subjects here because you just said something. Is your company like remote first? I imagine it is. How's that been? Like managing developers, like the commercial side, like, you know, how has that been?
It's been fine, honestly. Like, I haven't experienced any other way, so I don't really have anything to compare to. I think we're all really productive. I only hire people that I trust to give autonomy in the role and that I know are gonna do what needs to be done. And, you know, I think if you hire that type of talent, like, it doesn't make that big of a difference. But again, like, I couldn't even speak on the alternative because I've never built an in-person team.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going through right now, because like I built Hamley Media, and then obviously we started For You, which is for a fully remote TikTok agency.
Right.
So it was like, for me, when growing up, culture was massive, because I got spin the wheel and the basketball hoop.
Oh, no way.
They're not allowed to use it though. It's a sweatshop in here.
The agency cliches, like the fucking basketball hoop in the office. But yeah, so like for me growing up, my granddad had a graphic design agency, and like I watched the culture that he built there.
Nice.
And he was like a big inspiration for me starting an agency. And you know, he had members of staff that were there for like 20-25 years, like literally their whole career. So like that kind of resonated with me, and the importance of that, especially, I'll get that in a sec, especially, you know, being a creative agency. I think that in-house culture is quite important, because obviously, you know, you've got to have those creative juices flowing.
True. It's different.
But then when we started the TikTok agency, it was like this completely different thing. I'll go one sec.
There we go.
These lights are
motion
sensor.
sensor.
Just motion sensors. So, but then obviously starting the TikTok agency, it was like a completely different thing, and it was like had to think of quite original ways to build culture in a company that, you know, everyone is remote. I mean, I'd be interested to hear from your side, like how you approach culture in the business and how you know, look to make sure it's flowing and improving.
Yeah, I mean, so we're 6 right now, so it feels manageable. I think like what the biggest thing that I feel like I've learned is like culture. Once a culture starts, like there's no changing it. So the first few employees you have, like that will set the tone. So I think I was just, and I heard that before. Like that wasn't a realization I came to. I'm too small of a team to come to that realization yet. Yeah. But I've heard that a lot. That's been a piece of advice that I've heard from multiple sources. So I put a lot of focus, and I still do, to like these first team members to make sure that they're really excited about what they're working on. They really, and it has to be genuine. Like you could tell, you want someone that's like proactive, that holds themselves accountable to what they're responsible for completing, whether that's them doing it or them helping someone else doing it or hiring a freelancer to do it. Like someone who just can own their role, have autonomy in the role. So I feel like if you get the first like few hires in that, and then you are able to have them collaborating, and we don't do a ton of calls, but we'll do like one weekly full team call, and then like amongst the team members it'll just be like random calls as needed. I don't know. I feel like I don't really have the secret sauce, honestly. Like just hiring like the best people I could find, that are really passionate about what they do and like really genuinely excited about what they do. And it's not like, like I'm like making them do things. Like they're just like there. I put them in a position where they can be successful and they can make an impact on the business, and they just take that and run. Having like a few people doing that, like when you start to build out a team, and eventually at some point, like you might not have only A+ players, because like that doesn't make sense for a business of 50 people. All you need like more junior roles, and there's like a hierarchy. But if you start the culture with that, like it'll kind of flow down, is what I'm hoping. That's that's the advice I've been given. So I'm hoping that like this like culture of everyone like having a ton of integrity and working really well together, and owning what they're responsible for, and genuinely caring about what they're working towards. I'm hoping that that's gonna be able to expand as that culture.
There's a lot of studies actually about that, and like if you have one average person in the team, how it will literally drag everyone. That book,
I just read it recently.
I was wondering. I was trying to remember.
It's called No Rules. Yeah.
What is it called?
No Rules. It's about Netflix and how they built their culture, but it's a really good book.
It's all about that, basically.
That's but really cool. That whole idea around like how if you build that culture around A game players, and then you have someone that isn't necessarily that, and is working on a more average level, how that drags everyone down. But yeah, it's for us, like we literally hire for culture fit now.
Nice.
Like we actually have one stage of the process is purely based on culture-led questions and characteristics and mindset, because genuinely mindset you can't train. Like you can train someone to do a role, obviously slightly different if it's a developer, like but from a lot of roles, as long as they've got skills in those areas, you can train them up in. But you can't, it's very, very hard to reshape someone's mindset and identity in that sense. And I literally went through that last year with someone that we brought onto the business, and was insane for the role, and I got blown away by every step of the process that he was involved in, a salesperson. But then as a result, I got swept off my feet in terms of like the quality of what he was doing. But then as a result, I just kind of really heavily neglected the making sure he's in line with our culture pillars. And as a result, when he joined, it really started to show in terms of just he just had the complete wrong attitude. I could tell I couldn't trust him. I could tell he was like lying to me and doing things behind my back.
Oh God.
He was like a massive Andrew Tate advocate, he would actively argue with the girls in the office make sexist remarks.
Oh God.
I probably shouldn't say half this stuff, but fuck it, I'm not going to say his name. He actually called a prostitute in the office when I wasn't in.
Dude, where are you finding these people from? That is like so unbelievable.
Let's put Lucas in that seat. We need to run through.
Dude, I have some questions.
So he actually called. So I only heard about this from my art director. She like called me and told me after it happened. But one of our other team members was like talking about his dating life and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, well, if you're struggling to get girls, I've got a number for you," and then called the number in the office and just threw the phone to him. And obviously the other guy who worked for me was like really uncomfortable with the situation, as you would be.
Oh my God.
This guy's just called a prostitute in the office. Obviously, it was as a joke, but I had no idea.
You fired him. I'm hoping. Please tell me.
Well, that I only found out.
No, co-founder.
I only found out
actually
about
him.
that. I only found out about that after I'd sacked him already.
Oh, okay.
So
okay, okay.
was that only. I think people just didn't want to say it because he was quite a bold, loud character. And didn't want to cause issues. So I only actually found out about that after. But it just shows the importance of you could be the best fucking person at a role. But if you aren't the right culture fit or don't have the right mindset, it's gonna be really toxic.
Wow.
Dude, this guy was out there. This guy is out of control.
Yeah.
I've got a question again. Topic changer. So where do you want the company to be in like a few years? Like what's kind of the I guess what's the North Star? Like, what's the sunset dream, and then what's the sort of more tactical levels before that?
I mean, my brain definitely thinks in like 6 months in the future chunks. That's just how I am. Like, this move up market is definitely something we're gonna keep focusing on. There's a lot more features. There's a lot of new features to build, and we've also built so many features that like we kind of need to redo all of our user experience and interface, because it's just like it's not really like as well thought out as it might have been when we had like 1/10 of the features that we do now. Like it needs like some love, and also it just needs to look nicer. So we're putting some focus into user experience. We're building a ton of features. We're kind of like we're more and more focused on customer success. So like we're a lot more white glove than we used to be. So like we do like an onboarding call with every customer. We do like check-in calls, set goals with them, which is like, the beauty of SaaS and what makes it so attractive is like you could just like funnel people to sign up and then like never have to talk to them again. And like that's just the reality for only some types of SaaS. And like we just learned that we really, really have more success with customers when we talk to them and when we build a relationship and we create a Slack channel with them. We create all these resources for them, like, best practices. We have like a referral program, commission calculator, Excel thing. Yeah. Like, we have Klaviyo templates, landing page templates, SMS templates. We give them all to them. We help them set goals, We'll get on calls with them, random hours. Like we're super, super hands-on with customers, and honestly, like this is the way it's gonna be. Like
I think that is genuinely a game changer. Like that's for us. We worked with Content Cow, who's like a scheduling tool. It was recently sold to Adobe for like multi-8 figures.
Nice.
But we worked with them and we used their scheduling, scheduling tool. And the fact that you got an account manager who you had that personal person that you could just speak to reach out to if you had any issues, they would like you say, you could have meetings with them monthly to talk about things. They would talk you through new features and how you could use, optimize your business to the platform. And like that personalized connection was a massive, made such a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, funnily enough, Adobe have actually butchered it and they're like shutting it down in like 2
Oh no.
months. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, it's mad. Some companies like Adobe, they buy SaaS companies just to wipe out competition, and then which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It just shows how much money these companies have.
God.
But yeah, sorry, I interrupted there. But yeah, it's such an important part, like you say, and I think it's going to be such a big part of SaaS. And I guess the fact that you've upped your in terms of you're looking for a more premium customer, it probably gives you a bit more margin to be able to give that personalized approach.
No, the pricing had to justify it, and ours is like borderline justifies it, but like we still want to be really competitive with pricing. We don't want pricing to be a reason merchants don't consider us unless they're genuinely not a good fit. And someone who doesn't want to pay $100 a month, like they're most likely not a good fit. Like we really don't want to work with brands that have to like be too worried about that. So. But I mean, to answer your question, it's just a lot like pivoting up market, incorporates pricing, it incorporates product direction, it incorporates customer success strategy, it incorporates marketing and partnership strategy. So I think everything is going to continue moving towards that direction. I do want to build a sales team.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. When you do go up market, you need the sales process starts to get, you have like the procurement process, and you need someone to manage all of that. So that's what I was going to ask. Are you managing all of sales at the moment then?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I still take every single inbound demo, which isn't overwhelming. It's like a couple a day. Yeah. And I'm fine with it. I can sell this thing like better than anyone in the world. Like I really genuinely can sell this thing like to anybody. Like I just know it so well,
no one
and
can
I
sell it
believe in
better
it
than
so
you.
hard that like
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will be able to sell it better. But then that's just how it is, right? The founder could always sell it the
Yeah,
best.
of
So
course, yeah.
at some point, I have to delegate that. We're currently working to move one of my current CSMs into a more like revenue focused role. Like it's going to be like some sort of like inbound SDR type of role where he's going to be taking demos, and he already works with the product really closely, and he's like kind of doing the onboarding now. So it's only like one extra step before onboarding is taking that first demo call. So we're working on training him for that, and that's gonna be my first try. I really want to build out a sales team this year and be
Yeah.
able to scale sales. But it's gonna start by me like swallowing, like just like being okay with like delegating.
That's the hardest part. That's one of the hardest parts of being a founder, like you say, because no one can do it better than you.
It's your baby.
It's your baby.
Yeah.
But it's, like you say, if you want to scale, then you have to take that step back, which in probably is one step back in a sense, because they're not going to sell it like you can. And you'll probably lose some revenue as a result. But then in the long term, it's what's necessary.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been like the mental battle that I've been working on now. But the truth is, like, it's not too hard for me, because I actually, even though I'm really good at selling it, I don't really love spending my time doing it, because I definitely am living a life right now where my calendar controls me. And I know that's fine, because like, I'm just like grinding through it right now, but I'd like to be able to choose what I spend my time on a little bit more than I am right now. And sales calls definitely like make my calendar control me. So I'm okay with delegating it, because I'm not like super passionate about it. The one piece of the business I'll never delegate is like product. Like I love product. That is what I want to spend my days doing, and I already do. But I want that to be like all I have to really put my like actual brain power into, besides like high level thinking and admin stuff. I want to just be deep in product, because it's just so fun, and then delegate everything else.
I think like longevity as like a founder in a business, to make sure that you continue to be motivated and passionate about it, that's exactly what you need to do. I think you need to like reflect on what you actually enjoy most in the business, and then delegate or outsource everything else, or bring someone in that can run that. I think it's so important.
Totally agree.
Okay, so that's like, by the way, I love the, you've probably read it, right? Do things that don't scale.
Yeah.
Like, I think, again, this gold rush of SaaS, people think you can just build this product and never have to speak with your customers. I mean, some people get away with it. They're typically on the lower price point, but like having that human touch like goes far. So I used to work in SaaS, and I actually led customer success. So
sick.
it has a place in my heart. Like,
You're looking for a job?
We realized that as well. It's like, hey, these people that we're hopping on calls with seem to be sticking around for longer.
Yes.
So it's like, well, fuck it, let's hop on more calls with more people. Yeah. So it's got I definitely agree with that. So I guess that's kind of like the short time. I know you said you're only thinking like 6 months, but like, is the North Star like an exit? Is that kind of like the...
Definitely. Yeah. This is my first startup. This is my first real business. Like, I know I was doing business for the 5 years before this, but this is my first real business. So yeah, I mean, I'm young still, I'm 24 right now. I definitely would be lying if I said I didn't want to secure an exit and like
especially with those SaaS multiples.
Yeah. Well, we gotta wait.
One's agency owners are jealous of.
Yeah. Well, they're a bit down right now, but I'll wait for them to recover.
Down bad.
But I mean, yeah, like an exit. I don't know when. Honestly, I'm in no rush. I'm really, really enjoying what I'm doing right now. So it's like I'm not like, oh, I need to get out of this. I'm like burnt. I'm like super, super motivated every day still. Building a team is really fun. Getting new customers is really fun. Solving product problems is really fun. So I'm happy to do this for as long as I want to. And then, at some point, I mean, we've already had like unbelievable amounts of inbound interest from potential acquirers. But, nice. And I always will take the call and just talk to them and be like, look, like we should definitely stay in touch, but we're just not ready yet. And also like we're growing really strong and we're bootstrapped. So like I have full control over what this outcome is going to be. So I want a lot of money, and I might, if we're gonna, if I sell this month and we get this much, assuming like the multiple, and then I wait 3 more months, and it's gonna be like I just can't see myself selling right now because But then again, if you sell when you're plateaued, then the multiple is gonna be lower. So it's like I gotta sell when we're still growing. I don't know.
Good problems to have though.
Yeah,
right?
not bad
like,
problems. Not bad
I won't
problems.
ask what it is, but do you have a figure in mind?
I've always told myself 10 million.
That healthy 8-figure.
Yeah, that I feel like I don't want to sell too quick because like again we're growing and like I could probably get a lot of money, but I also don't want to like, I don't know, I don't want to like wait too long, and then, you know, things could always change and whatever. Like, just because we have great growth right now doesn't mean that's going to continue forever. Like, you face new problems when you get to, like, you know, 5 million ARR and everything, 10 million, everything is always changing. So I do want to secure the bag. I want to, like, have retirement for life money, and then everything else is just like, not like, right now I'm in survival mode still. Like, this is still me securing the bag, like for the rest of my life. Like, this is also part of the hunger I have right now. I feel like anyone competing against me probably already has a little bit of money saved up, and like, this is just kind of like, oh, if it goes great, that's awesome. But like, this is like survival mode for me right now. So I want to secure like a really life-changing bag for sure. I just don't know really when that's going to be, and I just don't see it being soon.
So you're obviously bootstrapped. You know, have investors ever approached you, and like, what's your kind of thoughts on the whole, you know, bootstrapped versus, you know, the VC route?
Yeah, it's crazy because I was like super set on going the VC route at one point, and I actually like really went out there and like pitched VCs and like got on a ton of calls and got really close to term sheets with some of them actually, and everything fell through. And it was me getting rejected every single time. Like, I got rejected from every single VC I reached out to, and it was a lot. And some of them, you know, we made it really far. Some of them, they were just like, no, right up front. And I was really upset about it at the time. And of course, everything's a blessing in disguise, and you just don't really see it at the moment. And I was even telling myself that, but I didn't fully understand how much of a blessing in disguise it was, because like, the reason I was so desperate to raise back then is because we were going through a bit of a plateau revenue wise, and it was just because we were like ironing out this new move up market, and there was a lot of features we still didn't have. Our pricing still didn't reflect what we were trying to do. We didn't have our customer success strategy. We were doing, like, you know, this white glove stuff. So like, I knew I wanted to move up market, but like, it took a while. It took like 6 months to get all those moving pieces in place. What was I saying? What was
bootstrap?
Oh, right. So during that time, I was like, I need to get out of this. And like, if I get VC money, then I could hire a bunch of people and escape it. But basically, you know, they all rejected me, and it was a blessing because now we're growing really, really strong, and I don't have to worry about all the negative parts of, like, you have to be realistic with what you want. Like, I want to sell for like maybe 10 million, maybe 20 million, but like probably something like that, you know, like realistically, like I'm going to at some point be like, okay, like, if you raise VC, like, you are in for either a unicorn or a failure. And like, there's a million stories you could read upon where founders were like, I'm ready to exit, and they get an offer for like 80 million, and the VCs are like, that's not enough return for our portfolio, and they don't care. So it's like, I don't have to answer to anybody. I could do what I want, and I have full control over everything, and there's no ulterior motives. Like, I don't have pressure to scale faster than's healthy for the business. So like, I'm still trying to scale, and every time we get enough new MRR that I could hire a new salary, I do it immediately. Like, I am like, let's grow. But I never hire faster than that, and I never scale as faster than that, because that's what this business can afford. Like, we make money and then we spend it to grow. Like, that's, you know, a healthy business. When you raise from VCs, like, not only do you have like the outcome influenced by them, their decision making, but you also have to like grow at a certain pace to like hit whatever targets, and then they're like disappointed, and then they're like, oh, you know, you should be doing this. Why didn't you hire these 4 people you said?
Takes
It's like,
the love out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like, it's not yours anymore. So
which is the whole reason for most people, it's the whole reason we start our own businesses, right?
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything wrong with raising venture capital, and I actually honestly think maybe the next startup I do, I will want to raise venture capital, because I might really want to shoot for that like unicorn or nothing. But right now, like, I'm in a place where like I can very realistically secure 8 figures in my bank account from an exit. Like, that is not me being delusional. That is very realistic with the pace that we're at right now, and like, that is what I need to be laser focused on. And like, if I was in a later stage in life and I already made those 8 figures and I was like, I want to build the next Uber and I'm going for it, like, obviously you have to raise venture capital for some businesses to make any sense or to work. There's some businesses you can't bootstrap. This one you can. And you know, I'm really, really, really thankful that I got rejected from all those VCs, because wow, like, I would be in a whole different place, and maybe Social Snowball would be a little bigger, but I would have no say over when we exit, and everything would just be very different. So, you know, everything works out.
Yeah, and some of the shit I see on Twitter about people saying they're going to build the next 9-figure fucking company, and just, honestly, it's like, they haven't even made their first million yet, and they're for the business, and they're talking about building a 9-figure business. It's, you know, it's as well, it's like, you know, you've got to be realistic to yourself and realize what actually makes you happy, and sometimes to get a business to that unicorn level, it's not enjoyable, and it kind of takes the fun out of it, and you know, you can build a very, very successful business, you know, with a good exit and still enjoy the process.
Totally.
So I think, yeah, that's important. But I mean, we've been going for a good amount of time now, so we should probably wrap. But no, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, dude, thank you.
I think obviously you're fairly close to us here in terms of where you're living, so we should definitely potentially hit up a part 2. I think this has been great.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Maybe more of a Q&A focused episodes. They're always the ones that seem to do the best, but yeah, really appreciate the time, man. It's been really, really insightful, really valuable. Liam, thank you as well. First episode, and what a one to come in on. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Obviously, we're on Spotify and YouTube. Yeah, do all the normal shit. Subscribe, follow. You know the gist. And I'm a bit rusty, as you can see. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
All right.
Cheers, man.